And who was the actor in that? Jimmy?
It's before my time.
Come on, guys. Which guy's the fucking famous actor from It's a Wonderful
They're
Life?
like Gen Z.
Today we're going to cover
the covers.
Hello everyone, it's that time of the year where we get to review the Real Deal covers. My name is Amir Korangy. I'm the founder and publisher of The Real Deal. Today also marks my creative director's 9-year anniversary, which I'm very proud to have.
Time flies when you're having fun and even when you're not.
Since Paul joined the team, he's had such an incredible influence on the whole company and the image of the company and the branding that we do. So I'm very grateful for him, and I love you.
Love you too, and
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's all downhill from here. So let's.
No, it's all good things only. So let's start with the January 2025 issue. We had the icon, Steve Ross, on the cover. The old man looks good. We thought we put him on the cover because he was supposed to retire. He didn't really retire. And he went down to Florida and he's ended up buying more things.
As 85-year-olds do, they go to Florida eventually.
I just don't know what motivates somebody to keep working at 85 years old. But
Money.
come on, you think he cares about money? I don't think so. And then February hit. The fires happened in LA, and we did the after the fires. This was a very stark picture that had a huge impact. And it was, I lived in California for a year, and to see the impact the fires had in California and that region was mind-blowing. And I think we captured it really well with this photo.
Yeah, I thought, this was a really important story for us to do. It was like all anybody was talking about for a couple of weeks. I thought it was a good chance for us to kind of do something totally different. I was thinking almost like a National Geographic kind of approach.
And it does look like that. A lot of people don't know this, but we have dozens of reporters and editors here. And a lot of times the headlines that go on the covers are decided by Paul. And we always tell Paul, these are the stories we're interested in, what would make a great cover. And Paul comes back to us with several options. And with those options, he always puts his own sort of a dummy head. And I have to say, 50%, 40% of the time, we use your dummy heads that are very clever.
It might be more like 70, 80%, which is very flattering.
It works for me because you usually have great headlines.
My thing is, obviously we want it to be catchy, but I always want really short headlines.
Yeah.
Visually, too much text is too much. So
during the Me Too era, we did a cover of all these powerful women in real estate, and Paul's dummy cover was Pussy Riot, which I thought was incredible because the band Pussy Riot from Russia was like very progressive. I thought it was a very
at
small,
the time, yeah.
And now we're in March of 2025, living the American dream. This is about the American Dream Mall and the Ghermezian family, who are major retail owners, and they're very private. And they decided to do this interview with us, which was great. And the pictures look really fun. They're not photographed regularly, so I was happy to have the photos. But generally myself, I don't like all the noise on the cover. I like for the cover to be very clean, and the focus and the subject you grab it immediately. I thought there was a lot of noise here, so it wasn't my favorite cover of the year. In fact, I think it was my least favorite cover of the year.
I photographed this myself, so thank you. I think I love hearing your take. I think the Steve Ross approach, what we did, is more kind of like your vibe because it was super crystal clear and clean and under control. I like a little bit more busyness, as long as it's organized chaos. I like that it captured the kind of chaos of the mall because it's kind of a chaotic place.
Jumping ahead to April 2025, we have this amazing cover. And I love this. This is one of those headlines that Paul came up with. Mr. Witkoff goes to Washington. And it's a play on words on the great Jimmy Stewart movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And it was just so perfect. A lot of people were writing about Witkoff at the time. And we were very happy to have this sit down with him. And he gave us an exclusive, which was great. And I thought this was a great cover for us.
I think actually, coincidentally, it was timed with him speaking at our event too.
Yeah.
So at the event, we had all these magazines everywhere and a big poster of him, and he was there. So it kind of all coincided nicely.
And then we went a little heavy on the Trump administration soon after that. Then we had the Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner, on the cover of the May 2025 issue. And he's very religious, and he's, I guess he's super Christian.
I think he's a pastor, yeah.
He's a pastor. And we had him on the cover preaching housing to everybody. And here he is. I really like this cover, even though his miniature hands are like a little too small there, but it works.
It's foreshortening.
Yeah. So even though I really enjoyed this cover, it was... It didn't get the same play as like Mr. Witkoff Goes to Washington, because Steve is a real estate player and people are interested in his take on things. Anyways, that's that. I did like it though. It was very fun cover.
You didn't think it was too busy for your taste?
It's a little busy, especially because the background looks a little close. You see what I'm saying here?
I have a style. What can I say?
You do have a style. But I love this cover. We didn't do it, but I did love this cover. This is when John Santoro, from former Cushman & Wakefield CEO, took the WeWork CEO position. And Paul put this headline, and I think you put this headline in, which it says, "The worst job in real estate," because nobody wanted to be the CEO of WeWork at the time. And he took it. He was a great sport about it. He came in one of our salon talks, and he was very good.
Well, I don't think we actually published that headline, so maybe he didn't. Maybe this is the first he's hearing of it. But I really wanted that cover. I was a little upset that I didn't get my way. But hey, I do think you usually have your finger on the pulse of like what's gonna work for that moment in time. So yeah. I guess you made the right call putting another.
Some people Trump call me an expert. It doesn't come without its validations.
And we have another Trump guy here.
Then we did 3 Trumps in a row at the time. Oh my God! Then we did Bill Pulte, who actually brought a lot of attention to that position, because that position was always nobody really cared about that position as much as they do now. But he looks like the type of guy that I don't think he's happy on the inside.
I really love this photo and the expression he was giving. I thought it really made this cover a little bit more special than if he was just looking at the camera and smiling. Like I thought that sort of quizzical, mysterious look.
He's like squinting.
Yeah, it gave it a little je ne sais quoi.
I don't know. Whatever. Oh, I like this one. The House of Rudin.
So this is an outtake that we didn't actually print. Yeah.
So this one, I really love this, because the Rudin family, they were formerly the Rudinskis. They came from Moscow, and they were part of the building of the New York City skyline. So it's a storied family, and here we have the entire family and the legacy of them. And you sort of did it based on the succession theme, or what was this?
Yeah, sort of unintentionally. Like the photos were giving very succession, and I actually was shocked that we didn't run this. Like this was one of those months where I was counting on this, and I put all my eggs in that basket, and then you wanted to go another direction, and I think it was actually because another real estate publication had done a similar story.
Oh, yes, that's why. I didn't want to be late to it, because another magazine had put them on the cover.
But ours was better.
Yeah, 100%.
This is an amazing photographer. It's actually it was my old college roommate, but he's like a total pro. And I love this, but it didn't actually run. But,
yeah, that was unfortunate. Now we are halfway through the year, and I feel that we do our best work in the second half of the year. And I think the stories get juicier. Uncovering the faces of fraud. Meet the companies and the deal makers connected to a growing billion-dollar mortgage scandal. And I like the text cover, but I really wanted to see the faces more. And I don't know why we didn't do that.
I think the issue was that there were a few that we couldn't really get away with running. Like some of them were in like litigation. Some of them had actually been proved innocent. So we didn't have enough faces. I think the editors were a little scared to show them clearly. So this was kind of a way to include them, but like not, make it a little dark and
But if you could see some of these pictures with the sunglasses and the cigarettes in their mouth, it would have been great. But anyways, and then this is my favorite cover of the year, I think. I love this cover. This was our August cover, and this was during the whole casino debacle with the licensing, and everything got very heated. There was all these billionaires involved, and everybody wanted to have a license for a casino in New York City, which I thought was a horrible idea. The last thing you need in New York is more vices. So why put a casino in there where people can gamble?
Agreed.
But Paul, we did a bunch of different covers. They were like very kitschy and stuff. And I was like, no, I kept telling him to go back, and he was getting annoyed and more annoyed every time I had him go back. And then he came back with this, which was a play on the movie Casino. And it just hit the spot so good. I just love this cover. It's like one of my all-time favorite covers. You got Jeff Blau holding the dice like Ace Rothstein and, all these other characters from the movie. And he did it strictly like the movie poster. So like, the month and the year and the volume, which are normally up here or down here, like the credits of the movie. And I thought you did an incredible job with this.
I feel like we used to do a lot more of these like movie or book kind of like riffs where we're like spoofing, or, doing satire. And, I like doing it occasionally. I just don't want to do that every month. Like, I feel like we want to put forward content that's truly like original.
Yeah.
But obviously, like doing an occasional play on existing IP once in a while, I think is fun.
Right.
And I like that we took it in like this dark direction, gave it like a bit of an edge.
Everybody loved it. I thought everybody loved that cover. It was great. So September rolls around. Mamdani is scaring the crap out of everybody in New York. And I thought I was the only Muslim that people were scared of. But Paul created this cover where everybody's like sort of running after him. And I just really love this cover. People in the office were like, oh my God, this cover looks pro-Mamdani. I was like, why does it look pro-Mamdani? Everybody's on the cover.
Yeah.
They're all behind.
It's a race and he's winning the race.
And he's happy about it.
That's what was happening, yeah.
And people were like, why are you guys pro-Mamdani because we put him on the cover? I mean, lo and behold, same month he was on the cover of Vanity Fair, or next month he was on the cover of Vanity Fair, and every other cover, across the country. So I thought this was a fantastic cover. I thought you did a great job with this. Real estate braces from Mamdani. Great headline and cover. It worked out really beautiful.
That was a month where like we thought we were gonna actually have a photo shoot with him, and I was really excited about that. And unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet. But call us, we want to do it. We were on the money because now he was elected. So I think we made the right call with how we visualized that.
And then during the same time, everybody's moving down to Miami. Everything's happening in Miami, but the numbers from Miami came out, and Miami was showing stagnation, right? The prices weren't going up. New developments were sitting on the market. So we did this cover with this flamingo titled The Miami Issue, Head in the Sand. And I just thought this really captured the whole mood of everybody and everything. And I thought it was a very clever cover.
This was one of those last second things that came to me like the night before we printed. I think we had a few other things in mind. It unintentionally became the Miami issue because there happened to be like 5 or 6 Miami stories. And then, I thought it was like a funny idea because obviously the visual you think of is like an ostrich with its head in the sand. But we're talking about Miami.
So flamingo.
Exactly.
We get to take some liberties.
Yeah.
Because it's our magazine.
And I'm glad you like it because, I feel like we always push having faces on the cover, specific people. And in the past, I think you've thought that similar things have come off as being like stocky, like looking like clip art, as you would say. But I think if it's done right, it can still be really striking.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Even if it's not an original
photo shoot. You don't picture clip art looking like this. Like this is taking it to another level. So
thank you.
Because this was the other option. We were going to do this gentleman here, Robert Rivani the Rebel. And because he has a mohawk and he was like really making big moves in Miami at the time, he continues to do that. And but we decided to go with this one because it captured everybody.
I really was hoping for this cover. It was kind of like I was channeling like Esquire or GQ, like a men's kind of fashion moment. One day I'll get to do that, but we'll stick with the 85-year-olds for now.
Speaking of 85-year-olds, November 2025, my birthday month. This is the cover we did. We like to, we're in 8 different markets. We're in New York, Miami, Chicago, Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Francisco, Los Angeles. And we like to rotate the covers to some degree and try to capture all the markets that we're in. And here we have James Letchinger's The Engine. He's sort of doing the big project in Chicago right now. And I hate the idea of people crossing their arms on the cover. I just feel like it's very
It's like a cliche of like business magazines, like a power pose. And I totally get that. If you want to start sending me on these shoots in other states, you're welcome to. But until then,
I don't think you want to go to
we
Chicago
get what we get
in the winter.
But I did really like that he was looking off to the side and laughing. Like I thought it looked like a candid shot rather than like a power pose.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that saved it.
And we finished the year up with my favorite cover. So we put Patrick Carroll on the cover as a saint. Patrick had this like very scandalous sort of last couple of years, but he's done a complete 180 and he's like very grounded and he seems very coherent and very back to normal. And so we have this cover of Patrick, Saint Patrick with a question mark. So is he really a saint now or what's really happening? And I just love this cover because it's like this Renaissance painting of a saint and with his hand to God, and it's just a beautiful cover that you did here.
One thing, I really appreciate working with you is I feel like you always push me to make things better. You push me to like really take it where it needs to go. So earlier versions of this, it was more him in like a power pose with like a suit. He had the halo, but otherwise it was like
not the same.
Businessman.
Not the same, right?
And you were basically like, if we're gonna do the halo, like let's take it all the way. Like we gotta, turn him into like Jesus or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Which is like maybe a little extreme, but makes for like a really shocking visual.
Amazing cover. And that's it. A year in about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. I thought that was pretty impressive. Thank you everyone for joining. And if you have ideas on covers we should be doing, let us know. I'm sure Paul would love to hear your thoughts on them.
You didn't throw anything this time.
No, come on.